Okay, testing. Can you hear me? Sounds pretty good.
Good.
Okay, all right. It is entirely too early to host a panel, but we're here, so we'll do this. This is Fursuiting Beyond the Con and for Charity. It's a panel I've been hosting for the last few years here at Anthony Northwest. It's a cause near and dear to my heart. I love fursuiting, especially in public. And in this panel, we're going to go over some tips and tricks for performing out in the public as opposed to a convention environment, as well as safety things and how to start your own public fursuiting events, and if you're even more inclined, maybe start your own group and start doing some charity work. So that's what we're going to go over here. If you have any questions as we're going, just raise your hand, and we're going to fly through a lot of information pretty quickly here. So, and of course, I'll open up to questions at the end as well. So to start off, why do we want to fursuit in public? What's so special about it compared to like just fursuiting at a con? Anybody? Yeah.
Well, as is the case for me, it might be at a model train convention, so maybe to dress up with the character that goes in my layout, or maybe do so at one of those day out with Thomas the Tank Engine festivals, which I thought of that too.
Yeah. We do have a fursuiter. Yay. What? Well, you were just in case no one shows up. So.
Oh,
but anyway.
Way to make him feel welcome.
Now we got a line in it here. Anyway, what I said, yeah, definitely.
Well, we have the predator and the prey.
Exactly. We're all set now. But yeah, for other conventions, such as like model train conventions or whatever, the thing I was going after is like it's not expected. Like when you go to FurCon, you're expected to see fursuits, and they're great. Everyone enjoys them. But in an environment with just regular people that aren't furries, there's an element of surprise that really catches them off guard, and it's you've seen it here because we share the convention space with attending people here at the Hyatt. So a number of times I've stepped in an elevator and the lady has never seen a fursuit before, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is great!" So it's that's one thing. Also, the convention is more of a controlled venue. There's a lot more unexpected things that can happen in the public, especially when you're outside. And we'll go over some of those.
Good and bad.
Yeah, good and bad for sure. Let's talk about handlers now. That's probably the most important thing when you're fursuiting in a public space. Your handlers are your performers' eyes and ears, essentially, as well as spokespeople for the group as well. Most fursuit performers do not speak in costume. Some of them do, but we're of the mindset. I'm kind of more of an old school. Like, when you speak, it kind of breaks the character. So it's really the handler's job to field the questions from the public. Something that I've noticed is if you're in a group of fursuiters and one of them speaks, the people that you're performing for kind of latch onto that, and it kind of just makes the performance aspect kind of, drops it down to not as important. Watch out for, the handlers need to watch out for pitfalls, potential dangers, and kind of act as a bodyguard, protect your fursuiter, because when you're in like a festival, because we do a lot of like city festivals and parades and stuff like that, where there's a crowd. They really need to protect your fursuiter and make sure they are safe, and make sure they don't wander off by themselves, because that could get them into trouble. Handler's job is to keep a large group together. Sometimes we have a bunch of fursuiters, like maybe 5, 6, or 7. It's very easy to break off from the group and get lost, and because what will happen is sometimes some of the group will get stopped for a photo, and then the other bunch of people will go off in a different direction. So you need to have multiple handlers and just make sure everyone's kind of together. Manage your breaks too, keep track of time. If you're out for a longer session, make sure to break it up, always have a home base that you can go back to for breaks. And because you don't want to have them out for longer than they should be. Let's see. Oh yeah, attend to your performers' needs too. It's always a good idea to have a handler that has maybe carry a backpack with some water in it in case they need some hydration. Always, hydrate before, during, and after when you're performing. In a public space, my ideal ratio for handlers is 2 handlers to every, 2 fursuiters to every 1 handler, or 3 to 1 at the most. So say you have 6 fursuiters in your group, you should have at least 2 handlers, if not more, especially if the venue is crowded. Use some hand signals to communicate with your suitors, obviously because of the nonverbal aspect. So something like maybe like a hand across the throat would be like an emergency signal, like I need help. Fist pulling apart, that means I need a break. Just something you can develop with your group before you go out so everyone's on the same page. That's really important to have. If you're looking to get more involved in events as a group, I would recommend having someone do some photo or video for your group. That's good to build a portfolio, to show prospective clients, I guess, that this is what we do, and it'll help you get into events later on, which we'll talk about later as well. And finally, never fursuit alone in public, ever. Always have at least one handler or get some kind of group together of people you know and trust, people that won't flake out on you, because you're very vulnerable as a performer out in public. Yes.
Also, this was suggested to me by Kijani and I forget his name.
Grave, probably.
Huh?
Grave, maybe. Kijani and Grave.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. But they suggested gather some other fursuiters to go with you as well.
Oh, other fursuiters? Yeah, definitely. You want as big a group as would make sense for the venue. You don't want to have too many people because that'll be hard to control. But yeah, definitely go out in a group. Okay, let's talk about safety aspects now. Safety, when you're fursuiting, always know your limits. That's the most important thing because every fursuiter is different as far as their stamina, how much experience they have, how comfortable they are performing. Take frequent breaks, don't overdo it. Do not marathon suit in public. I know you hear stories about people like cons that go for 10, 12 hours at a time. It does happen. It's different out there in a non-convention environment. So know your limits, take those breaks. Stay hydrated, water is best. Of course, stuff like Gatorade is good to replenish the electrolytes. Just make sure you're hydrated before, during your breaks, and also after you're done. Make sure you're eating properly too. Avoid big meals, heavy, greasy foods before you go out. It'll just weigh you down and make you feel icky. Let's see. Consider, I don't use one of these, but I know a lot of suitors do those cooling vests or neck wraps or fans inside your costume, anything to help keep you cool and keep that air circulating. You want to make sure you're wearing the proper stuff. Under Armour compression gear, heat gear compression is the best. Of course, if you don't want to spend that much money, there's off brands and stuff. Those work not quite as well, but they're sufficient. Just make sure you're wearing stuff that will wick the sweat away from your body, because that will make you last a lot longer in suit, as opposed to wearing other things or nothing at all. Know the warning signs of heat exhaustion as well. The common symptoms of that would be like a headache, dizziness, muscle cramps, and some nausea. If heat exhaustion is untreated, it can lead to heat stroke, especially if you're performing in a very warm time, like summertime. I remember one time we did a parade, 4th of July parade. It was 92 degrees, and the parade route was about a mile long, and that was very difficult, but we made it through. So know those warning signs of heat exhaustion. If you feel something coming on, just you might be better to step away and not perform, because you don't want it to get any worse, or have something happen while you're out performing as well. So that's all the safety stuff I had. Let's do some fursuiting demonstrations now. We have a couple of fursuiters here. Yeah, let's have you both come up. Okay, so the one thing that you're going to encounter a lot when you fursuit in public, not so much at a con, is you're going to be fursuiting around children, kids a lot, of all different ages. So we're going to go over some ways to perform around them. So I need someone that's not in suit to do some of these that can help. You're going to play the child, okay? Conquer is going to play the child. All right. So he's a child, and he's kind of unsure of these big, scary, cute characters. So how would you approach? Okay, let's have you do this. How would you approach a child to make yourself feel less scary? There you go. Excellent. You want to lower yourself to their level, because to a child that's maybe about that tall, you're a big hulking thing, and it can be a little intimidating. So get down to their level, and let them come to you. Never kind of rush a child, or because they're going to likely have to warm up to you. So that's great, just like that. And now the child has completely warmed up to the suitor, and they're going to get a hug. Oh, sweet. Okay, so if the kid is kind of unsure, and you're trying to win them over, it's okay to act scared in return. Lakota, can you kind of act scared? How would you do that? Yeah, kind of cower back, maybe cover your eyes a little bit, act kind of shy. Because in the kid's mind, he's like, oh, if this character is scared of me, why am I scared of it? And here's another one that really works well. So, Incog, you're gonna be Lakota's mom, okay? So this works. Trust me, it does. So another way, if the kid is kind of unsure, is to hide behind the parent or interact with the parent. Because yeah. So Lakota kind of hide behind Incog. Yeah, kind of like that. Or just completely behind him. Yeah, interact with him or act scared, because from the kid's point of view, it's like, oh, obviously the kid trusts his mom or his parents, right? So if the character's interacting with the mom, then it must be okay. And that many times I've seen that work, where the kid will then warm up to you. Okay. Never, ever, ever hold a baby or an infant. This will happen. The mother will have a young child, and they're carrying, and they're going to thrust it into your arms, your fursuit. Oh my gosh, don't do that. Babies do not bounce very well. So how would you, Conker, can you grab your backpack and pretend it's a baby? It is a baby. It's a baby anyway. So how would you say don't take it? Yeah, exactly. Pause up. Just non-verbally say, cross them, say no. Or you can. Here's a good one. Inca, can you go like that? Like pretend you're dropping it. Pretend you're dropping it. Yeah. Usually when you do that, the mother's like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe this isn't a good idea. So just never take the kid. Be ready for lots of pictures. Yeah. Do you guys have some standard poses you like to do when you're posing for photos?
Back on kids real quick.
Yeah,
There's
sure.
some kids who are just terrified, and they will see you and they will freak out. Just expect that. Just back away from them.
Exactly. Yep. That was actually that was actually that was a good point though, because there are certain kids that absolutely will not warm up to you, and they are terrified. It's best to just remove yourself from the situation. Unfortunately, what will happen is the parent will keep trying, even though the kid
will be pushing
the kid, and if you can tell if it's just not going to work out, then just back out.
That's
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
done that before.
Okay. Lots of pictures. So poses. You guys have any go-tos that you like to do for poses? Yeah, extend your arms out. Extend your lying like seed to deer. Yeah, so just remember, big and broad. You're a character performing. Just make it kind of, you're out there. You're a show person. So big and broad gestures. Try to do a few ones, because I know for me, I have a couple that my usual poses. But if you're seeing that in your photos, you always have the same pose. Try to do a few more. Change it up a little bit. And practice in front of a mirror too, that helps, because you can see what you look like. Lakota, do you have any poses? What's your favorite? Yeah, okay. And you can fit it with your character too. So he's a lion, so we can do like a prowling thing, or claws out, stuff like that. That's great, so try to match it to your character as well. Okay, this is another thing that happens a lot in public, especially when you're around a lot of kids, dealing with those tail grabbers. Yes, that happens a lot. So this is your handler's job. So for a handler to deal with a kid that may be mischievous and grabbing tails, it's best to be firm with them, but not mean, obviously. So just Conquer, what was something you would say in character if you were a handler and had a kid grabbing a tail?
Would you like your tail pulled?
Yeah, something like that. How would you feel if you had your tail pulled, or that's not very nice, Yeah.
Well, don't do what Sky did. She actually had a pouch of fake blood up here, and some kid pulled her tail off, and that started spurting out and she
Oh.
got the loudest scream of.
Oh my
She has
God.
YouTube videos.
That is one way to make sure they never do it again. I'm not into scarring children for life, but that would be an effective way to do it. My goodness.
She actually had a YouTube video explaining that. That's where I found out about what she did
Wow.
and how she handled it.
Well, I wouldn't recommend something like that, but yeah, what Conker did was great. Now, there may be a situation where your handler might be pulled away from the group, so you might be by yourself when this happens. If it gets really, just try to deal with it the best you can, but if it gets really bad or they start roughhousing with you, you can use your voice, because your safety is paramount here. Just, yeah, if it gets really bad, definitely step in there, use your voice, and just remove yourself from the situation. Okay, let's talk about some props here that you can use. Now, if you've seen me in Fursuit, I have the zebra leg made by Matrices, who does plush props and stuff, and it has a squeaker.
That's for hyenas.
Yeah, it fits me. Well, it was supposed to be based on the zebra leg that Scar throws down in The Lion King, kind of, in that scene with the hyenas. So, and she did really good. So this is something I carry around. I'm not sure if either of you have props, but something that matches your character or matches the event that you're doing as well.
Shame that Nas hyena is not here. You could have thrown that to him.
I could, yeah, that would be perfect. Okay, so we did a event called Issaquah Salmon Days, which is a little bit east of here, the city of Issaquah. It celebrates the salmon run every year. And prop we used for that one, we have some plush salmon that our characters carry around. So it matches the festival. The unfortunate thing about props is obviously you have to carry it around. So it's a lot easier to have both of your paws free when you're interacting with people and posing and stuff. So this is a trade-off. It can help you if you're not as experienced with pantomime and performing, to have a prop there to kind of help you interact with people. So you can try it with or without. Okay, talking in suit. Is it okay or not? It's I'd say like a convention of obviously it's fine. We're all furries here, but I think if you're gonna talk in suit in public, you have to really make it part of your character. Now, some people do that fantastically. They have their voice and they change it, and it's really part of their performance. It does help if you have a movable jaw, because I actually have seen it kind of freak out some people if a human voice is coming out of a static jaw. Yep. So that's something to be aware of. But yeah, I mean, if you've got to change your voice pretty significantly, I think. But yeah, make it part of your character, all by all means.
So basically, something to make it something a little bit like say Big Bird from Sesame Street.
Exactly, yeah, something like that. Yeah, there's those characters have those very authentic, memorable voices that when you hear it, oh, that's Big Bird, or that's Nas Hyena, or whoever. So yeah. Let's see what else we're talking about. Oh yeah, know your limits. We kind of talked about this earlier. If you're going to be out for a long session, say you have a contract to do like 3 hours, 4 hours at an event, you should probably bring a second change of Under Armour. Just be prepared for that extra liquids to hydrate. Okay, I think that's all we had for you guys. Thank you so much. Round of applause. Yay! Oh, you gave me back my lunch. Thank you, Lakota. How nice. Okay, let's talk about choosing a venue now. Okay, what's a good place if you've never fursuited before and you want to do some stuff in public? I think a really good place to start would be like a public park. It's a good practice for public interaction. There's obviously going to be kids there. You can bring some stuff like maybe a frisbee to throw around, basketball. There's jungle gyms that you can climb on. So there's stuff that you can do. And it is a public place, so we'll talk about public spaces versus private property. Now you see those videos on YouTube of fursuiters going into like Walmart and stuff, and they get all the views, but that's actually very risky because any store like a mall or a Walmart, even if it's an outdoor mall, those are all private properties, and almost across the board they have no mask policies. I mean, by no mask I mean covering your entire face. So you very well may get asked to leave or escorted out of that facility. So be very careful about that. Just walking down the street, of course, is fine, but just make sure you don't enter private property without the expressed written permission from someone in charge.
I got something to add to that. I picked this up from Pokari Roo. It's probably a good idea to call the people whose venue you're going to and tell them what you're going to do, and they may want you to identify them yourself before they let you in.
Yep.
When you get there.
That's right. Yep, that was. We're just going to get to that. So to get into a private property, for whatever reason, even on Halloween, this is kind of surprising, but it requires careful planning and communication. So I have a story like way back, many years ago. We tried to organize a Halloween meet at a local mall, and the person that was in charge of it supposedly got permission from the head of security or whoever was in charge that day. So we all show up, there's tons of fursuiters there, and we're told we cannot have our masks on because they did not get consent from the right person. So you need to make sure, 100% sure, that you have the express permission from whoever is going to be working that day or whoever is for sure in charge. Another good thing to do would be like bowling meets or mini golf. I run a very large bowling meet around here locally. So you definitely, as he said, you want to ask first, tell the manager exactly what's going on. You don't want to leave anything to surprise. Just tell them we're going to have a whole bunch of people in costumes here. And also try to talk with whoever the manager on duty will be on that day during the event. So say you're planning to have this event on a Saturday afternoon. I would come in a Saturday afternoon the week before, or probably more than the week before, but just make sure it's the same person that's going to be working so they know what to expect fully. Okay, organized events in your hometown. Most cities, if you live near a large major city, they'll have festivals, especially during the summer. There seems to be one almost every weekend around here in Seattle at least. It's a great way to get involved. A lot of these festivals, the summer festivals, will have parades attached to them. Just make sure to register for the parade in advance. And that's how we got started, actually. There was a lot of parades that we did as a smaller group, and it was a great way to get out in the crowd. Parades are a lot of fun. Charity events and fundraisers as well. They happen almost every weekend, it seems like. If you want to get involved with those, maybe pick one that benefits kids or animals, like maybe a Humane Society fundraiser, or something that you feel strongly about, that feels near and dear to your heart. So if maybe you had a loved one pass away from cancer recently, maybe do something for a cancer-related charity.
You didn't mention it, or maybe you're coming to it, but
Yeah.
when you talk about a scheduled event, like a parade, you never know what your weather's gonna be. So you gotta be prepared for hot, cold, windy, rainy.
Yeah, that is true. Especially during the summer, it might be very, very hot. You gotta be prepared for that. Look, I mean, around here in Seattle, honestly, looking at the weather forecast, you just want to expect the opposite because it's very difficult to predict around here. But yeah, sometimes you might have to perform in some rain, so be ready for that too. Unfortunately, it's tough once you get into an event and it's going to rain. A lot of suitors don't want to perform in the rain, but you can't really fully cancel because that looks really bad on you. So it's something to be ready for. Okay. Prepping for performance. So once you're in a venue, I'm of the mindset where I want to be as prepared as possible. I like to be over-prepared if I can. So I scout the venue in advance, especially if it's a new event that we're doing. I go there, kind of look at the layout, the lay of the land, and know your exits. That's really important. So if you have, in case of an emergency or something, you need to find the quickest route back to a safe zone or your home base, wherever you're set up. Formulate a plan or a route and follow it as closely as possible just so you stay organized. If you don't have a route, then people just you might just wander off and get lost, and you don't want that to happen. So what I like to do, like if we're doing a festival, is I like to make one complete round of the grounds, depending how big it is, of course, but that way you can kind of hit up all the areas and maximum interactions, people can see you. Make sure your handlers know their roles, what to do in case of emergency. Because those things will happen. You will have sometimes a fursuiter might have something break on their costume or a medical thing, and you just have to be ready to escort them to a safe area or back to wherever you're stationed. So you get that taken care of. So how do you, once you have an idea in mind, how do you contact the organizers of an event? The best thing to do is to build a portfolio of your group performing in public, preferably photos and video or both, but at least photos, that you can clearly show the organizers, this is what we're going to bring to your event. Because it's good and fine to say, oh, we have a group of mascots or performers that are we're planning to, write your event, but they don't know what you guys will look like or stuff like that. So it's good to have those photos there so they can see exactly what you're going to bring to your festival. Preferably interacting with people. It's good to have just, like kind of portraits of your costume, but if you have any that are interacting with the public or kids, then that can really help your cause. Okay, let's talk about this. Now this has changed a little bit in the last few years. But when you're performing in public, it's best to still separate your identity from the furry fandom. Unfortunately, negative connotations about furry still exist and they are believed. But I want to say this, in the last, I've been public fursuiting for over a decade now, and in the last maybe 3, 4, 5 years, the number of positive interactions about furry have really increased. Like we've had some instances where we're out in an event and we'll get called out. We'll say, oh my gosh, the furries are back, yay, they're so excited to see us. So I think that's really changing a little bit, which is great. But unfortunately, those negative connotations still exist. Furry's way more mainstream now than it was when I first started. But the main thing is don't focus on what you are not. If people, it's easy to get defensive when you're talking about furry to someone that doesn't know about it. So what I would do is instead of describing what you're not, describe your group by what you are, what you do. Like we like to entertain others and put smiles on their faces. We like to help charities reach their fundraising goals. Just have a positive spin on it when you explain it. Very clearly explain what you would like to do, and using easy to understand terms. Don't use words like fursuit or furry, but they might not understand or not know what that is. Use terms like mascot character. Everyone knows what a mascot character is, right? That's a very positive connotation word. Life-size cartoon animals is a good one. With that positive, fun imagery in their mind. And state that you'll be performing for fun and do not seek compensation. Because when you approach a group, they might think, oh, you're going to do this for pay. They might think that you're seeking pay for this. And especially when you're first starting out, just make sure it's very clear. No, we're just volunteers. We want to help out. And state how the festival will help you, will benefit from you being there. It's like, from their point of view, it's like, why should we let you guys in? So answer that question. From what we said before, we're going to bring some smiles to your event. It'll make your attendees leave with some happy memories with our characters, and keep those positive, fun ideas in their minds. Offer to help and assist with festival fundraising opportunities if requested. So remember, when you're volunteering for an event, you're not really employed, but you're working for them. So what I would always like to do is offer our services any way we can. If it's, say, a charity event, say we can have our characters to the side and maybe collect donations for photos, stuff like that. A lot of times they'll say, oh, just wander around, but you always want to offer that. It's good for relations later on. And of course, you want to help them out as much as you can. Okay, ask if, once you get in, you're gonna need some kind of room for changing space. I call this our home base. And also for a break area as well for your performers. Depending on the venue, because every venue is different, you might have this and you might not have it. So if you don't have it, you have to formulate a plan. I'll give a few examples here. So my organization, we do a fundraiser, which is actually coming up very soon. It's called the Jingle Bell Run. It is a fundraiser for the Arthritis Foundation. We've been doing it for the last 4 years. And before this year, it's always been right in the heart of downtown Seattle, around Westlake Center. And as you can imagine, they don't have any space for us to set up a tent down there with the way it's set up. So what we actually do is we park in a nearby parking garage and we use that as our home base. So that's kind of not ideal, but we make it work. And some festivals will go, they'll really accept us with open arms. Like we had a event in the city of Issaquah for Salmon Days, and also the 4th of July parade for the city of Issaquah. They gave us an entire room in their city hall. Like it's this huge room, all for us. Has a fridge and a sink and everything. It's way more space than we need. So it depends on the event, what they give you, but you have to just make do with what they give you. If you need to, you might need to rent out a room at like a local facility, like a library or an office building, if there's absolutely nothing around. Or resort to maybe a pop-up tent or a canopy. Those like 10 by 10 canopies are great. They'll fit in a lot of places when you're in a pinch, and especially the ones with walls, obviously, because you're going to be changing, so you need privacy. At a very last resort, you can change in your parking lot or in your car. I know with a big bulky suit, it's almost impossible to change in your car, so you want to avoid that if you can. Always act courteous and professional too. You're going to get turned down. It's going to happen. But when we first started our organization, I got turned down like maybe 5 out of my first 6 events that we tried to get in. But once you get into that first one, it's going to snowball, and it's going to really help your cause. And you'll get into events. Keep trying. Don't give up. And just keep at it. Expect to get rejected from a few. Okay, so for the ambitious here, if you want to create your own group to do public performance, mascot performance, or fursuiting, it's always good to create an official group name. The reason for that is it helps create a sense of solidarity in your group and helps you become more reputable. It's easier to introduce yourself too, because if you don't have a group name, it's hard to kind of convince the person you're trying to get in that you're really legit, because it's like, oh, we're just a bunch of mascot performers, it's like, what does that mean? It's easier to say, oh, we are Emerald City Critters, we are Paws for Life, or whatever you may be. You can trademark the name, register as a nonprofit organization. I know here in the state of Washington, it is actually very cheap to register as a Washington state nonprofit. It's less than $100, and it's a one-time fee. It varies from state to state, though, depending on what state you're in. Now, if you want to be an official 501c3 nonprofit at the federal level, which we are as well, it's more expensive. It actually depends on how much money you bring in. So we don't actually bring in very much money at all, because we're all pretty much donation funded. So if you make less than $10K in a calendar year, it's I think $400 or to become a 501c3. And the process is fairly simple. You do it online. The main benefit of being a 501c3 is that you're tax exempt and all your donations to your organization are tax deductible, and you're also in the National Registry of 501c3, so people can look you up online easily and see that you are definitely tax exempt, and that's a big bonus. Background checks, I would recommend them. Background checks makes certain organizations, especially the charity ones or ones that work with kids maybe, if you want to do some children's events, they feel a lot safer if you've done background checks on everyone in your group. Especially when working with, when you're working around kids. Most nonprofits do this already. Have fun and treat it like a business. Here, I'll show you our organization. Emerald City Critters is our. So I made a business card. This is our business card. It is a nonprofit character performance organization serving the greater Seattle Puget Sound region. And I show what we do. We have community charity events, festivals and parades, fundraisers and private parties. Have our information on our website on here, all the basic stuff. So it's good to have these around when you're performing, have your handlers pass them out if people are interested, ask who you are or what you're doing. And also, let's see, we have our jerseys here. Now there's a couple of different functions for these jerseys. This is what they look like. This is our new style. We have our logo on the front. Our logo was designed by Hubcap in the back, so yay, good job, Hubcap. Have our website on here. Now the reason for the website is because you have lots of photos being taken, and Obviously, the jersey will be in the photo with the website, so if they want more information, they can have that clearly on there for you. Another good thing for the jerseys is sometimes those kids, they have sticky fingers, they have stuff, and it's a lot easier to get that stuff out of your jersey than it is out of your fursuit. So, multi-purpose. Let's see what else. Yeah, make a website. That's the bare minimum you have to do if you want to make an official organization. Web hosting is pretty cheap at some domains. I think we pay like less than 10 bucks a month still. Just have some sort of presence online that you can people you can refer to. Social media is great too. We have a Facebook page. We use it to tell everyone about our events coming up. Twitter too, if you feel like it. Social media can be, it's extremely important for networking nowadays. It's a major time commitment, but it's really vital to your success. Now, I found that if you really, really work hard at each event that you're trying to attend, your clients, they'll take notice. They will, because a lot of these, the people that are in charge of the volunteers for certain events, they network a lot. It's kind of crazy. Like, one time we did an event for the American Cancer Society, and it went really well, and that person was involved with another charity, and they're like, oh, Emerald City Critters was so good at this event, how about they do this? So if you really make every effort to do your best at the event, then it can open many, many doors for you down the road. So yeah, that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Any stories they want to share? Yeah, come on.
Just make sure if you're handling, do what you can. Because sometimes we'll be in a group and you have 3 different fursuiters that all will do 3 different things.
Yep.
I had ARF, Hubcap, and Baby Blue.
Oh my, that's a kind of crazy group.
Yes, and Hubcap was behind me. ARF ran off to wherever the live music was, and then Baby Blue went off to do something else.
Yeah, that's a tough situation because a lot of, especially the more experienced performers, they'll tend to kind of do their own thing. Because I know Arf, the tiger who you mentioned, he's been doing this for a very long time. So it's the ones that are more experienced, I think you can be okay with them. Just kind of keep an eye on them. You don't have to keep them with the group. But yeah, that's a tough situation when they kind of split up and you're basically on wrangler duty, trying to keep tabs on them. But yeah, just do the best you can. You know, if it gets kind of out of control, just try to call them and get them back together. Anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, any unexpected hurdles that you all ran into when you first started?
As far as like just performing out in public or?
First, anything?
Okay, unexpected hurdles. Can you think of any? I didn't cover it already.
The whirlwind that blew the tent over the RV.
Yeah, there's nothing. we had a mini cyclone at one of our events, and we had a pop-up canopy thing, and it actually blew it over the RV that we were stationed in. It was crazy. Yeah, that was kind of a one-off. I can't really think anything really unexpected that happened. It wasn't really rainy. It was kind of like a drizzling mist, I guess. But that's something you just have to be, as I said before. Yeah, that's something you have to be prepared for to perform in inclement weather, especially around here. Yeah, pop-up umbrellas are good. It's kind of difficult to be a handler and kind of have to follow your suitors around with an umbrella, but gotta do what you gotta do. I'll see if I can think of any. Questions, comments, concern? Yeah, in the Hellcat?
Yeah. On Zoom, you talk about having an exit, like an emergency exit strategy.
Yeah, I did talk about that. Yeah, knowing your exits. Yeah, that's something. Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's something you want to do in your scouting of the venue. Yeah, anytime I have a new venue, I always like to go there in advance, see the layout, and make sure. Basically, on your route that you determine beforehand, which I recommended, know the fastest route to a safe place that in case something happens, you can get your performers to a safe zone or you're back to your home. Yeah. Any more? Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I know I've said a lot of kind of scary stuff, but this is so much fun to do. There's nothing like going out in public and bringing smiles and joy to people's faces, especially as our own characters too. It's not like we're performing as a corporate mascot, like a Tony the Tiger or something. This is a character that we've created ourselves, that we are now bringing out to public and bringing joy to others. And there's nothing that can replace that. It's very special. So that's a good point. Anything else? We still got a little bit of time.
And don't worry about not getting called your proper species.
Yeah, that's a good point. In my earlier versions of my studio, I've been called anything from a bear to a tiger. You get a lot because you know what's funny is adults know more about animals than kids do. Like kids will I'll have parents go, "Oh, look at that tiger," and the kid will be like, "No, Mom, that's a lion." I'm like, yes. But yeah, you will get mis-specied a lot, so that's your handler's job. Oh yeah, also, I don't think I mentioned this. You're gonna get a lot of questions when you're out in public. What's your name? What's your organization? That's definitely your handler's job, so make sure the handlers know the names of all the characters in your group before you go out. Makes it a lot easier. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what about being called the scientific name of your species? Like, I got a Felis Leo here behind me.
That would be very impressive if they could pull that off.
Go to the zoology convention.
Exactly, yeah.
Would it be the handler's responsibility, or how would a suitor handle it? You've got the scared kids, but you also have the kids that, this is a big stuffed animal, I'm not letting go.
Yeah, that's also I've had that happen before too. That is your handler's responsibility, because you will have those kids that do a hug and they just don't move. And so the handler would say something like, what would you say if you had a kid conquer that would latch onto incog and not let go? How would you deal with that?
It's more like he needs to get moving. I mean, yeah, he's lovely and all, but other people need him too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good, because kids know. I would hope that they know the aspect of sharing, right? This was like, you've had a lot of fun. It's someone else's turn, or something like that, and hopefully they'll understand.
I gotta keep him walking because the lion needs dinner.
Exactly, something like that. We put it in character. Incog needs his. You're a herbivore, so you needs to have his salad for lunch or something.
We need to get him over to the grass.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that. Very good. Okay. Yeah.
One thing I don't think you mentioned was animals, like dogs.
Oh yeah, first thing around. Yeah, that's something that will come up.
Oh yeah, they're like children, but there's
But even worse.
So it's very interesting because when you, I don't know how many of you have fursuited around actual animals before, but especially dogs, they're recognized by scent, right? So they'll be confused because they smell a human, but it doesn't look like a human. It looks like an animal. So there's an initial confusion there. But most of the dogs that I've fursuited around, they don't get like neurotic or crazy or anything. But of course that happens.
But there is the occasional one that.
There is the occasional one that does it. Yeah, that's your handler's job to just make sure if a dog's really aggressive or any animal's really aggressive towards you, just remove yourself from the situation.
Because a dog that's mad at starts really barking.
Yeah.
It's not going to change its attitude.
It's not going to change its attitude. It's not going to end well for the pursuers. So.
Oh, come on, just go right, just sniff them. No.
Yeah,
Stand in front of them and say no.
that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good point. Forgot about that. Anyone else? Any more? Okay, I think that's it. I have some, if you're interested in Emerald City Critters, I have some fridge magnets here. I have some business cards. You can feel free to take one. And yeah, thanks for attending. Hope you learned something and have fun out there.